Welcome to the Islamic Library Association. We are dedicated to showcasing Muslims' rich contributions to literature and society while advocating for accurate representation and equity in libraries. Hello and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalisah Harris. I'm a librarian and the founder of the Islamic Library Association. Through this work, we advocate for equity in libraries and public spaces, ensuring accurate representation of Muslims while highlighting the incredible contributions Muslims have made and continue to make to the literary landscape. This channel serves as a space to celebrate and amplify Muslim voices, recognize the contributions of Muslims to the library profession, and promote the diversity of perspectives within the library community. Today, we are here with Mr. Maurice Hines. Maurice is an author, educator, librarian, and community servant. He holds three master's degrees, his first in teaching Arabic and to non-native speakers earned in Sudan, and his most recent in Arabic and Islamic civilizations from the American University in Cairo, where he also served as a reference and instruction librarian. He is the author of several works and currently serves as an instruction librarian at Northwestern University in Qatar. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you, Maurice?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
So, your commitment to education and librarianship is just phenomenal. So, I'd love to just go on ahead and get started. Can you tell us about a little bit more about who you are and your journey into librarianship and library instruction?
Yes, I'm Maurice Hines. I'm really sort of a lifelong learner before anything else. I'm also a Muslim. I became Muslim when I was in high school several decades ago.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, I like to learn, I like to learn about Islam and about the Muslim world, about other things as well. My journey to librarianship, um, I guess, I mean, we could say it started when I was young. Of course, I've always been a reader. I've always been a writer. I've been an artist. That's really my background is in the arts. I went to Durham School of the Arts, um, and that was my life. And you know, when I was younger, I would actually spend a lot of time at the library. We live far away from the school that I attended, and so my brother and I would have to pretty much spend our time at the libraries after school until my parents came to pick me up. So maybe that's where it started. But I really kind of stumbled upon the profession um, accidentally. And so my previous career was as a instructor of Arabic. My last position was for a grant with the Department of Education at Bennett College. And so when the grant was sort of expiring, um, I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. And I initially started off applying to PhD programs. I was particularly interested in Arabic manuscripts in West Africa. Um, but you know, I guess around that time, yeah, that was the time my first son was born, and he had some complications in hospital. So, my applications, I knew they weren't the best. Um, but then I stumbled upon this guy I would see frequently when I was an undergrad at UNC. I call him the man with the hat because he always wears his dingy hat, his top hat. We always have these very in-depth conversations, and no matter what
okay.
I say, he knows about it in depth. So, I just kind of, was chatting with him, and he was like, you should look into a career in books. And so, I just looked it up online, and lo and behold, the first thing I saw was library science. And being in North Carolina, we had several library schools. We had UNC Chapel Hill, my alma mater for undergrad, CCU, we had UNCG, and a few other places. And so uh, I guess I was most familiar with North Carolina Central. So I just applied. The next thing you know, I'm in the program. It's a kind of a quick 2 years. And then before I even graduated, I had the job in Cairo, working at American University. I actually think it's one of the best decisions in my life. And I'm kind of a da'iya for library science. So Muslims want to, if they want to, if they're looking for a good career that will take them all over the world, then library science leads the way.
That is a great introduction into your life, getting into librarianship. So now let's talk a little bit about your day-to-day work. How does your role as a library instructor work on a daily basis?
So usually no 2 days are the same. Kind of really depends on my schedule. So I guess, usually at the beginning of every week, the work weeks here begin on Sundays. We go until Thursday. So usually I just look at my schedule, see who's booked appointments, what sort of things I have kind of, up for the day, places that I need to be. And I just, prepare for those and show up for those. If I have a appointment with a student, sometimes they just drop by. So that's also, a scenario.
Mhm.
So, I deal with students, particularly undergraduate students in the research, um, professors who are doing research. I do class visits where I do sort of like a general library instruction, show them databases, I show them how to work the library website. Usually isn't very intuitive. Um, we don't go into depth about citations, but just showing people why they cite, why we cite, and maybe doing an activity or something like that with them. Um, and then I guess usually I fill in the blanks with the research and maybe some committee work as well, being that I'm in academia. So um, Um, yeah, a lot of the research that I'm working on related to libraries, some tangentially related. Um, but anything that I do, I can use in my presentations, which I also, sort of incorporate sort of a personal touch to show students that, research isn't just, it's not something that's just theoretical. Um, and then, yeah, I'm writing a few papers. I just co-authored a paper about AI um, and learning taxonomies. So, sort of envisioning or re-envisioning what we call prompt engineering and AI as sort of like keyword searches that we are familiar with in the library profession, as well as finding research questions and things like that. So hopefully that paper will be published sometime soon. And I'm working on a book chapter about libraries in Andalus, um, which I'm also co-authoring. It's a book chapter. Um, in addition to that, I'm working on my own research projects, my blog, which I try to write every every month. Um, yeah, so that's kind of my day-to-day life. So,
That's a lot. That's a lot. And it all kind of coincides and works well together. So you mentioned what you do as a library instructor, but you also talked about some writing that you're doing with articles and book chapters and things like that. But you also write as a sole author for a couple of books.
mhm.
Um, and how does that connect with your teaching and librarian life?
Um,
What inspired you to actually become an author?
okay, yeah. You know, um, I actually wanted to be an author since I was young. You know, I guess I had a
Okay.
lot of different ambitions in life.
Mhm.
But I could say maybe around the third grade, I was really into Judy Blume books, and
Yes. Okay.
I wanted to write like her. And so, you know, I just started writing, and uh, I just recall, you know, one of my teachers, just sort of encouraging me to, you know, just keep on writing. So, yeah, I've always been a writer. I always kept a journal. Even when I started learning Arabic, I would journal in Arabic, which is a good way to learn the language, by the way. What else? And yeah, just throughout, you know, my early life, I've always been a writer, but maybe publishing is sort of a new thing for me, I think. Um,
Mhm.
so, the first book I published, self-published, um, was is actually stemming from an presentation I gave at the Black Muslim Psychology Conference, I think in 2019. And so I basically made the presentation into a book. It's about oral history for Muslim communities. And I just wanted to try my hand at publishing. So that was the first book I published. And actually, you know, a few people have reached out to me and said, you know, it's a very useful book. Uh, but, you know, it's not like I'm getting a bunch of sales, but, you know, people that, you know, into that niche, I guess they find it useful. Um, But the second book I published was basically my memoirs from when I was studying in Sudan. It's called Thoughts from Sudan. It's based off of my monthly emails that I used to send back to family and friends every month, and they used to, you know, wait wait for these emails because they're hilarious and somewhat emotional sometimes, you know, when when you're going through, you know, a lot of different things, you know, you just kind of put the words out and it just kind of, you know, whatever comes out comes out. So, um, what I did during the pandemic was just sort of polish the
Okay.
language, try to fix most of the mistakes. I think there's still some mistakes in the current uh, publishing of the book, but um, yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, and my friends and mentors, they have been encouraging me to publish that for years, and so I just finally got around to doing it during the pandemic, and then my third work that I published a few years ago was sort of the lost pages of my most recent master's thesis. So the first two books, they're light reading, but the third book, it's kind of heavy reading. It's about the Sabi'un that I mentioned in the Quran three times. There are not a lot of people that do research on this topic, and quite frankly, feel the people that do research about this topic are, particularly in the West, they're missing a lot. Some of them are
Mhm.
even seem genuine. Um, and and I wasn't going to publish that book at the time that I did, and I wasn't going to self-publish it initially. But with the encouragement of a friend of mine, he said, just publish it as is, you know, just get it out there because you know, you have some interesting ideas that might sort of surface and and it has. So thank that friend for his insights. I did do some editing to it,
Okay.
but I published it. It's about 100 pages or so, and I'm glad I put it out. But I'm now kind of working on the second volume for that, which is I want to make it a little bit more robust, sort of fix some of the issues with the first one, make it a little bit more accessible. And some people said my first one was a little bit too academic. I don't know what they mean by that, but whatever. um, and then yeah, so yeah, I'm working on the second volume of that, but it's been, it's a little bit slow in the sense because you want to do a really good job, and so I've been writing it, writing. Yeah, I have some good things, but then I don't like it. I want to go over it. I want to rearrange it. So it's not perfect yet, but
Mhm.
hopefully it'll be out. Hopefully,
That's
maybe after the next project.
that's fascinating. You've talked about a lot of things. Uh, how has being Muslim shaped your approach to teaching, mentoring, and writing?
Mm. Um, for teaching, um, so they say that teaching is the profession of the prophets, and so I take teaching as a manner, as a trust, um, between me and students. I don't. Yeah, I teach currently, sort of instruction librarian. I don't have a standalone class, so to speak. In the past, I have. I think I do try to add a personal touch. I let people know me as a person before they know me as a Muslim. Even in the Muslim world, I think that's sort of a good strategy sometimes because there used to be a time where people had a lot of expectations of Muslims, and I even think about when I was in my freshman year of college, and I had a professor, African American professor, who I don't think he was Muslim, but somehow he knew I was Muslim. I was like a brand new Muslim, like less than a year, and he was like, you're a Muslim, you got to do better.
Holding you to the higher standards, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like when I was teaching in New Jersey, I had a student. I think it was maybe the second or third time he was taking my class, because
Mhm.
he failed the previous times. And then I think the third time he was taking my class, he found out I was a Muslim. I found out he was a Muslim, and then he started avoiding me.
He didn't wanna be held to the higher standards. So, as a Muslim, because you said you'd like for people to get to know you as a person sometimes before they understand that or aware that you're Muslim, have you faced any challenges or misconceptions, um, as a Muslim within your field as a librarian, library instructor, or even an author?
um,
Have you found it?
in the library field, I wouldn't say I have, no.
Okay.
I think the library field is genuinely very open-minded.
Mhm,
Maybe there's not a lot of Muslims, but um, I think we kind of need to work on that, within our own communities. I was actually fortunate enough to that my one of my professors in library school was a Muslim from Ethiopia, and he was very well known in the library world, in IFLA and in ALA. IFLA is the International Library Association, and then ALA is, of course, one of the strongest um, uh, professional organizations in the U.S. and lobbies, um, and one of the oldest as well. So,
mhm,
um, I think he's never had any issues, and he's very open to me doing projects around Islam and Muslims. What I think actually um, is that maybe the Muslim community in the U.S. They might have some issues with libraries, and maybe
mhm,
even worldwide. So, like I said, I worked for 6 years at American University in Cairo, and I would work the reference desk here, uh, and then every now and then we would get phone calls from average Egyptians, and so they're asking us about a particular book and things like that. I'm searching for the book, and so, oh yeah, we have it, and then they're like, well, how much does it cost? And they're like, oh, this is a lending library, not a. So the word mektaba in Arabic is the same for library and bookstore. So I guess when they're looking, they thought this was a bookstore, and they don't really have a good concept of lending library. Even people that were, I guess, professors, they they kind of looked at library in a very strange way, like can we check out books? Can we do this or can we do that? And yeah, the within the Muslim world, the librarian is the Amina Mek, the guard of the library. So basically a gatekeeper to keep, books from being taken and stuff like that. Um,
I see what you're saying. Yes.
and then I think in the US, there's somewhat of a mistrust of institutions. So one of the projects that kind of led into my first book was an oral history project I was doing um, of I guess the history of the Muslim community in North Carolina,
Okay.
which started there in Durham, and I knew a few of the pioneers, and I used my connection with the community to put a build in this oral history project. I don't think I ever finished, but there was other iterations of it. It were people from the various, sort of bigger institutions in the area that came and they tried to do a project, and the community was very resistant to it. Um,
Okay.
and then when they did let someone in, I guess the results of it weren't really clear about who owns what and things like that. There is sort of this disconnect, and I
Okay.
think um, maybe Muslim communities that start thinking about, sort of thinking forward, thinking about having professional librarians in the community, professional archivists or community archivists that can uh, preserve their historical legacy. Um, I know that particular mosque, they're looking into getting an uh, one of those plaques, historical site plaques,
Okay.
and they actually use some of my work, to sort of fill up their application and make a case for the
Yeah.
historical sites. And I think more Muslim communities and institutions should be looking in that direction. So maybe they need
So
to
you're
endowment or start a scholarship fund or something like that.
so you're saying in Cairo specifically, you're giving an example about how um the patrons have an understanding that they're purchasing the book opposed to, it being a lending library. But you're saying in America, there's more of a distrust
Yes,
with the people, the Muslims specifically, and the libraries.
yes.
Um, yeah, there's different realms of librarianship. Do you feel that perhaps it's more regarding representation or the comfort or discomfort rather? Do you feel that that's more prominent in academic libraries? I know you're more of an academic librarian. From my experience as a public librarian, when I look at academic librarians seem to have, like you said, they're a little bit more open opposed to public libraries. So when you're talking about libraries in America, are you speaking more about the university libraries or more of the public libraries?
I'm speaking more about university libraries. Those are the ones I primarily work in. Um, and those are the ones with the big funds for major projects and stuff like that. But maybe yeah, they should also think about working at the public libraries, working within the public libraries, or working with them. Um, I think maybe there's probably more of a connect there. But of course, funding, if you want to do anything sort of, large scale. But I actually think, public libraries are kind of a good place to start. One of the things I noticed that when I was at IFLA, they had these I guess people were showing off their research from their various libraries, academic or public, from around the world. It seemed like a lot of them started, sort of small projects at local libraries. There was one poster um, from Kazakhstan, I guess a very sort of um, low income community there. They're trying to teach English there, so they have an American corner. And
Mhm.
I noticed a similar thing in Cairo. Right down the street from where I stayed at was a Maadi library, their public library, and they had an American corner there, where they do activities that are like American, I guess, and they watch
Yes.
movies. They might have speakers every now and then. They have different activities, and so I mean, we could do the same thing. Maybe like an Islamic corner or something like that, um, or an Arabic corner, or I don't know, we can get creative with it. Um, yeah, and maybe the Muslim community isn't as aware that they can do things like that. It's their
Mhm.
library too.
That's so what kind of impact do you hope to have, with your teaching and writing and your students?
The impact that I sort of see myself with, I don't know, I really just kind of want to raise the consciousness of our communities. So I guess I belong to a few different communities.
Mhm.
I'm
Definitely.
African American. I'm also Muslim, and what I've witnessed, probably over the last 20 years is so there tends to be an sort of a lack of respect for knowledge. um, of course, this sort of corresponds with the whole social media thing, and now AI. It's like people are getting more divorced from like reading and critical thinking, and I think there's a space for that. I didn't realize it prior to I guess me sort of coming of age. But I think maybe with every generation you realize, oh yeah, these are young people, and maybe they haven't read the same things or been exposed to the same things that I have. So you have to kind of, you know, teach and reteach for the different generations. Um, so yeah, I just hope, just to kind of brings the consciousness. That's what I do with my blog. My blog kind of came out of library school. So
Okay.
my last and very busy semester of library school, one of my professors had us you had to open a blog and basically add entries every week. And
Okay.
so the one I opened, it was called the Morchives. So my name, Archives. Um, and so that's kind of how I
I've
opened
seen
up.
it. It's nice.
That's how I started the WordPress site, but then it kind of lay dormant for a while. But I think maybe there's something about the Nile water or something like that that makes you want to write. And so uh, when I was in Egypt, I just started writing on this blog just about my various interests. I was sort of reading some things. I was trying to work some ideas out, and so I just started writing on this blog. It's become something, something that people actually pay attention to, apparently. So yeah, that's kind of where I do my sketches, so to speak, for my future writing projects.
Nice. So you mentioned earlier that perhaps Muslims should, uh, you know, lean more towards librarianship to some capacity. What advice would you give to a Muslim student or profession who wants to enter either library instruction or authorship? What what advice would you give to them?
Um, so I would most definitely, encourage people to go into the library profession. The the library degree, the MLS, Masters of Library, however they call it, wherever. The various-
Some library science, library information science. Yeah, it's several names, but yeah.
Yeah, that degree is kind of a professional degree, and it's somewhere in between, kind of like learning a trade and some intellectual fields. So it's sort of a good bridge between like if you want to go into academia, but you're not quite prepared, it will prepare you, you know. So it'll get you acquainted with research methods. It'll get you acquainted with various library resources that are out there and databases and things like that, and just how to just the basics of research. And then if you want to go deeper, it's a good sort of springboard to go into a PhD program. But I would also suggest that they combine it with something else that they're interested in. Uh, like myself, I have a background in like Arabic and Islamic studies and stuff like that. So, I can incorporate a lot of that with my library science degree. But library science is kind of like water, it can take on the
I
taste.
think I'll go anywhere.
So, yeah, if you have, sort of thing for history or sociology or something like that, you combine it with your library science degree, and yeah, it can take you all around the world. It's taking me to Egypt and Qatar and various different places. I think
Same.
it's a good decision. If you're an author, if you want to go into doing that, I would just say just know your stuff. I think nowadays, not a lot of people have a rounded view of anything. And so, the more you know about the field or your particular specialization, the more you can, I think the more quote unquote marketable you are. Writing helps you do that. Writing is sort of an extension of teaching. That's kind of how I see it. And I remember a young man uh, back when I was in New Jersey. Well, there was a group of students that had come to his library. I was at a very small Catholic school, and they were checking out all these books about witchcraft. And I guess we were like, okay, as long as they're reading. But then one of those students came to me, maybe a year or so later, and he was like, I learned that I can learn anything through reading. And so, I mean, I know that doesn't sound like a very big revelation, but it was most definitely revelatory to him. And I wish more people would come to that re- that revelation.
Well, I think your experience has been very broad and it has taken you many places, but everywhere you've gone, you've taken you, who you are as a Muslim male, because there's not even a lot of males represented within librarianship. So you have a lot of intersectionalities that make you one whole person, to make you be very have a very positive impact on what you do on so many different levels. So that's all that I have for you today. Do you have anything you would like to add?
Um, Not really. I think this was a good conversation. Keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to hearing more from the Islamic Library Association, saying the various interviews and different discussions you have with people, librarians and authors.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I really appreciate, like I said, your insights. Your work as an instruction librarian and an author continues to inspire meaningful conversations about education, representation, and community within the library field, inshallah. And we look forward to staying in touch and being aware of any updates when you write another book, or we have to have you on as an author as well.
Okay.
And you can go in more detail about your books.
Okay.
But other than that, it was very nice speaking with you, and I'll talk to you soon, inshallah. Yeah, hear you. All right, this one. Join the Islamic Library Association, and together we can shape a more inclusive future for literature.